Which do you trust more, motivation or discipline? Most people say motivation, and most people struggle to stick to anything for long. That is not a coincidence, because here is what your brain actually does with motivation. It gives you a rush at the start, a feeling of energy and possibility, and then slowly it takes it back, and leaves you wondering why you cannot keep going the way you started. This is not weakness. This is neuroscience. And once you understand what your brain is actually doing, everything about motivation and discipline starts to make sense. Motivation is driven by a chemical in the brain called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the feel-good chemical, but that is not quite right. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical, the pursuit chemical. It is the spark your brain produces when it sees something new and exciting, something it thinks will be rewarding. This is why motivation feels so powerful at the start of something new. A new goal, a new plan, a new year. The brain gets excited about the possibility. Dopamine floods the system. And you feel unstoppable. But here is the problem. Dopamine responds to novelty, and novelty fades. As the goal becomes familiar, as the excitement wears off, the dopamine drops, and the motivation goes with it. This is neurologically normal, not a character flaw, not a sign you do not want it enough. Just your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. So if motivation fades, what keeps people going? Discipline, but not in the way most people think about it. Discipline is not about being tough. It is not about forcing yourself through something you hate every single day. In the brain, discipline lives in the prefrontal cortex, the part that makes decisions, controls impulses, and chooses the long-term reward over the short-term one. But here is what most people never hear. The prefrontal cortex gets tired. Every decision you make during the day uses energy from this part of the brain. And the more tired it gets, the harder discipline becomes. This is called decision fatigue. And it is why discipline is hardest at the end of a long day, not because you are weak, but because your brain has genuinely run low on the resource it needs to keep choosing well. Here is the most important thing about discipline that nobody tells you. It gets easier, not because you get tougher, but because of what happens inside the brain when you keep repeating something. Every time a behavior is repeated consistently, the brain starts moving it out of the prefrontal cortex and into a deeper region called the basal ganglia. This is where habits live, where automatic behaviors run, where no conscious effort is needed. The first month of waking up early or going to the gym or studying every day is genuinely hard, not because you are not disciplined enough, but because the brain is still treating it as a deliberate choice that requires real effort. But after enough repetition, something shifts. The behavior starts to feel natural, almost automatic, because the basal ganglia has taken it over. The difficulty of discipline is front-loaded. Push through the beginning, and the brain does the rest. So which is better, motivation or discipline? The honest answer is neither one alone. Your brain needs both, but for different things. Motivation is the spark. It starts the engine. Use motivation to begin, to make the commitment, to take the first step. But do not wait for motivation to keep going, because it will not always be there. That is where discipline comes in. Discipline is what you do on the days motivation has left. And habits are what you build so that eventually you need neither motivation nor discipline, because the behavior just runs. Motivation lights the fire. Discipline keeps it going. And habits make it burn without you having to think about it. So the next time motivation disappears, and it will, do not take it as a sign that you do not want it anymore. Take it as a sign that your brain has done exactly what it was designed to do. The novelty wore off. The dopamine dropped. And now the only thing standing between you and the habit your brain is trying to build is showing up anyway. Not because you feel like it, but because you understand what happens inside the brain when you do. Motivation got you started. Now let discipline build the brain that does not need it, does not need it, does not need it.